Now, Vern and Sudbeck and I were here at 7:15 for the 8:30 Mass. I can't figure out where the rest of you were. One thing about forgetting to change your clocks is that you get an extra hour to go over and change your clocks. Put batteries in all the clocks. I ran out of batteries. Today in the Gospel, Jesus boils down all of our responsibilities to 2 commandments: to love God and love our neighbor. The Sadducees, the Pharisees, the scribes, they were all vying with one another to try to trip Jesus up. And since they had different approaches to how a Jew was supposed to live their lives, Jesus got it from both sides. Today he gets it from the scribes. The scribes were that group of people within Judaism that really believed in the sanctity of the law. The law was so important. The 10 Commandments were so important that they created a web of laws around the 10 Commandments to support the 10 Commandments. So many little details that people had to observe if you were going to keep the 10 Commandments properly, they said. And so no good Jew could ever be able to keep all these commandments, keep all these rules. And that's why common folks who basically had to get their hands dirty in things like raising sheep couldn't keep the commandments because they couldn't keep all those little detailed commandments that surrounded them. They basically kept the 10 Commandments, but so these scribes come to Jesus. This scribe comes to Jesus and asks him, what is the greatest commandment? Because that's a common kind of theological discussion that was had in those days among themselves. What is the most important law? And Jesus quotes from 2 books of the Pentateuch, the Torah. The first 5 books of the Bible, which were so important to the scribes. And so the first one came from the book of Deuteronomy, which is the traditional Shema prayer for the Jews. And it goes like this. Remember, O Israel, the Lord our God is Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. And then Jesus jumps over to Leviticus and holds a commandment on it there and says, love your neighbor as yourself. And he says the second is like it. So to reverence and obey the law was to bring oneself dignity and purpose. And even so many places in the Old Testament talks about keeping the law as being something that's going to earn you all sorts of blessings. Your days will be prolonged. You will have a big family. You will have a prosperity in your house. So Jesus simplifies all of those 600 and some commandments that the scribes have come up with the simplicity of these 2. But perhaps the simplicity of these 2 makes it more difficult for us to really understand the gravity of them and how important they are and how central they are, and therefore how easy it is for us to go a different route than these commandments. The scribe responds to Jesus by saying to him, these things are more important than even the sacrifices in the temple. And there you get the difference. The Sadducees were the ones who thought the rituals in the temple was most important. The scribes thought it was the law that was most important. So that covers kind of like the hidden agenda there. This business about loving God, or God's love for us, and loving our neighbor, this is what makes us distinctively different, especially from those who follow the Prophet Muhammad, the Muslims. To talk about God as being of love is like a foreign language to them. To understand that God can be loved. God is way out there. God is totally removed from us. Filled with caprice. God doesn't even follow his own laws. Do whatever he wants to do with us. So to understand that God's love is pretty central to us and pretty important in the discussion with anybody else who believes different than us. And yet we can't even find common ground on that one. Now I see God, and I see love happening all around us. All around us. This business about loving our neighbor as ourselves, I see that happening in our parish. I see it happening when I visit the classrooms and I see the way the teachers interact with the kids in all of our schools. There are people who truly love what they're doing, and they love their children, and they build them up without appearing to be disciplinarian, to guide them in what is right. This is love. I see love demonstrated and experienced by people in our parish when an individual who has cancer and has been battling it for a long time hears somebody else who has now been diagnosed with it and reaches out to them to comfort them. I see it happening when death comes into someone's home, especially the death of a child or an unborn, and they reach out to another who has experienced that recently. This is love in action. I see it done on social media when people organize regular meals for a family in order to help them out while one of the parents is sick. This is love in action. The love of God, where we're supposed to do it with all our strength, all our mind, that tells us a lot of things about, well, are we doing that? Do we, like for instance, with all our mind, do we look at the signs of the times and try to apply the gospel to what we're seeing out there in the world today? Do we let the gospel influence the way we think about things with respect to the ballot box? These are things of the mind. This is where we use our mind and not shallow our faith when we go out there into the world. No, we fight with it. We try to bring that faith in, and we let it influence our actions, and we let it influence even our votes. No matter what, I found in my life that there is one truth that I cannot deny. It is a truth that actually answered a lot of my doubts about faith. See, when I was going through the seminary, one of the things that I had to deal with was the problem of evil in the world. The problem of evil was, how can there be evil in the world and there still be a good God? And the truth that bridged the gap for me was the truth around love. That these two commandments that Jesus talks about today was the bridge that made it. That I could not deny the truth of what he said. And it was so all-encompassing that it literally bridged the gap between this is what is the truth, and when we do not live it, then we have what we have in the world today to a large extent. We have so much doubt about God's presence and what he can do for us and how he works in our lives. Recently, the past few weeks, it seems, been so much discouraging news for me in terms of just a lot of different things, some of which relate to parish, but a lot of it having much more to do with my vocation as a priest, as I see other priests being removed from ministry or leaving ministry because of things that have happened in their past. And so we battled with this question about where do we go with this? Where do we go with this pain, this kind of like being hit in the gut every other day by something in the world around? Where do I go with those things? And I take them to that first commandment, to love God. And I go to him and I say, just don't feel like I very much love God. And I lay it before him and I listen. And I just trust that he somehow is going to work out a healing, for me anyway, in terms of dealing with those things. And he gives me the strength to go back into my work, and to go back into my vocation, and continue to work. And even when I don't think there's very much results coming from some of the things I do, I still go back and do it because it's the love of God that animates it. It's the truth about the love of God. The love that God has for me and the love that he has for me to have for him, and then for others by extension. To lay my problems before him and to let him and his grace work in me. This is what prayer is all about. This is what that first commandment is all about, I guess. It really is making God central and core to everything that goes on in my life, and let him be the final arbitrator of everything I feel is right or good. It allows what is important to surface and what is not to just fall aside. So I cannot deny the truth of what Jesus tells me today about love, about loving God completely and loving our neighbor as ourselves. You know, in our experience as we go through these times that we're in right now, the crisis times that we're in right now, sometimes it makes it, when we talk about this whole thing about it shakes our faith, or shakes our faith in the church, you know, it pushes us back to where things cannot be shaken. And that's where that love of God comes in. It's that linchpin that is not shaken in the midst of all of this. We may not always agree with it, we may not always like what's going on, but we still can know that God loves us and that we love him. And keep working at that, and keep coming back to him and ask his forgiveness when things aren't in our lives the way they should be, and when things aren't in the church the way they should be. When our faith in our church is harmed, when our faith is shook, we in a sense become somewhat of the victims, like those hurt also. So there's comfort in knowing that Jesus felt the same way. Jesus felt the same way. Except when he felt that way about all of us. Because in his sight, we are all sinners. We have all missed the mark. And he reaches out to us as our Savior, as the second reading tells us today. He is the one that cannot be taken away. He is the one that is permanently our sacrifice before the Father. And so we can find truth then, not just in the love, but also in the suffering, in the difficulties, in the being shook up. And we can find in that, through that, just what he found. As he suffered for us, for our salvation, so too we can bind what we go through with him and help him to carry his cross as he helps us to carry ours. In the midst of all this, I consider that to be good news. That is the good news. That is the mystery of our Christian faith, about how much God has loved us that he sent his own Son to die for us.